Underneath the picturesque Midwest sun, it's time for USL 2 playoff soccer as we get ready to present the Western Conference Finals between Project 510 and the visiting team on the scoreboard, FC Tucson. Welcome into the broadcast, everybody. I'm Cody Roskins, alongside me, Griffin Leonard, as we take a quick look at our postseason bracket. Just 4 teams remain in the Peoria pod. 2 will move on, 2 will go home as we get set for Game 1 of our doubleheader here in the Western Conference Finals. Griffin, these 2 teams played a really tough road to get here. They've gone up the rough side of the mountain. They're ready to go, though.
Yeah, two seeds that have fought through tough and nail into the bracket, and it seems fitting, Cody, that we're here at a fellow 2-seed Peoria City, the host for these 2 rounds, and an opportunity for these 2 teams who most probably thought their seasons would be over at this point to extend and book a spot in the national semis.
Now, to book a spot in said national semis here on Sunday, Impact players are going to have to play big. Who do we got today, Griffin?
Yeah, well, for Tucson, it's a team that struggled to score, but they've got a guy in James Jennings. He's going to be attacking on the front half of the pitch. He's got a couple of goals this season, and for FC Tucson, he'll be looking to get going and try to get that offensive stroke back for these boys.
And on the opposite, Project 510, they've made the long trip out here to Peoria as well. They've got some Impact players as well.
Yeah, well, Roberto Martinez got the start today. He's been really, really hot. 2 goals in his last 4 games for Roberto. And for Project 510, they're going to be trying to respond to this FC Tucson pressure. It's a team that's going to fight because they haven't scored. They're going to push that extra bit. So for Roberto and his team, they're going to try to answer it with everything they've got and put it all on the line.
We will crown a champion of the Wild Wild West this afternoon as we get set for Project 510 and FC Tucson here in the Western Conference Finals. We're going to step aside for a short break. We welcome you back to Shea Stadium here in Peoria, Illinois for the Western Conference Finals between Project 510 and FC Tucson. I'm Cody Roskins, alongside me, Griffin Leonard. Griffin, it's good to be back as we're kind of up in the air about it, whether or not Peoria City would host after last match out. We were waiting for the sites, and Peoria got the nod.
Yeah, Peoria gets the nod, and it makes sense. After a couple of really nice performances, a couple of really nice turnouts from the crowd, it's a beautiful stadium. They remowed the pitch, and it looks great, and couldn't have picked a better site for both the conference finals and the national semifinal.
More of a less of an extreme, but meet in the middle, so to speak. Flint, Peoria, 2 teams out west as well, were any number of the potential sites, but the starting lineups continue to rattle off behind me. This is going to be a good one. We got 2 teams from out west. One team's going to punch their ticket to the national semifinal. The other one, regrettingly, will have to go home, and it's 2 seeds that, as we said in the open, took the rough way up the side of the mountain.
Yeah, well, just as Peoria City did, they were the 2 seed. They were the team that wasn't supposed to maybe even progress from the first round, but they both done that. They both taken it then a step further, and it's 2 teams that are on runs, and for one of them, they've got the opportunity to do even more. For FC Tucson, it's a team that's coming off of a national semifinal appearance last season, and they're looking to punch their ticket right back there again in 2024.
Run down the uniform matchup for you. FC Tucson will be rocking the all-gray kits with gray shorts and white trim. On the opposite side of them will be Project 510 out of Oakland. They will be rocking the black shirts, white shorts with it's like black long-length socks and a red keeper's kit. Not often you get to see the red keeper's kit anymore.
Yeah, I don't mind it, and it's too. I mean, obviously the purpose of the jerseys at the end of the day, a lot of the kits look cool and everything, but the purpose of the kits is for identification. And I love the bright white numbers on the Project 510 kits. It's going to be easy to tell who's out there, and 2 nice clashes, and yeah, red keeper never disappoints.
As you saw in the open, winner of this match will take on the winner of the second of our doubleheader between Flint City Bucks and Peoria City. for the second spot in the national semifinal. These two teams will run down how they got here for Project 510 out of the NorCal division. They just snuck inside that top kind of 2 range. They actually tied for first, but due to a couple tiebreakers, ended up getting them to the 2nd seed behind Almaden. And out of the Southwest, FC Tucson was behind Ventura County, but the Fusion had a really good year. This team was close behind them. They got them in the playoffs. They beat them once in the regular season, and they're looking to try and pull off another win here in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of rivalries that come down, and the best teams emerge, and that's the way the postseason works. And now they find themselves very, very far away from home. And it's interesting because you look at the setting here, and it almost feels like an exhibition game. The stands are hardly full at all because there's not a whole lot of traveling Western Conference fans. I mean, there's a couple Peoria City supporters here to scout out some potential opponents. But it almost feels like an exhibition, but it's anything but. And these two teams huddled up right now trying to go over some last-minute game plans. We saw the team photos, and the teams, they're banded together. They have been all season, and it's time for one of them to emerge.
This playoffs, Project 510 took down the national champion, or reigning national champions, Ballard FC and United PDX on the opposite end of them. FC Tucson took down Flatirons FC and Ventura County. And so these two teams, again, it's only 3 2-seeds left in the entirety, and all 3 of them are right here in Peoria. So the Western Conference and Central Conference showing still a little bit of the crazy side as we are in the Elite 8. And again, the winner will advance to Sunday's national semifinal, take on either Flint City or Peoria City. It'll be Project 510 in the center circle to get things underway. It looks like Martinez will have it for 510 as we're underway in Peoria for the Western Conference Finals. Griffin kind of running down these two teams. We touched on their schedules earlier, but what can we kind of anticipate between these two sides today to try and get the match in their favor?
Well, as far as Project 510 goes, they've got a lot of goal scorers at the top third of that formation. Derek Rock and Roberto Gonzalez on the wings are really lethal for this Project 510 attack. And if they're going to look to play the long ball, as we've seen them just do again a couple of times early, they'll look to play the long ball. If they can get possession with numbers behind them, then they'll try to push it to the wingers and their striker in the middle, Eric Duncan, and see if they can put one across.
Pressure on the ball will be laid off towards the back line, and Thomas Gray will have it now for Tucson. Out of Loyola and Scotland. So well-traveled young man. And we'll go across the near side touchline. This will belong to Project 510. This will stick with Project 510 along the near side. And again, these two teams have really run a bit of a gauntlet. Their divisions, hard fought. Again, Project 510 technically tied with points for first place in their division. So who knows how much more different their path could have been, but they won't complain about where they are now.
Yeah, it's all about the end results. And just as Peoria City will have felt that they probably could have and should have won the Heartland division in the regular season, it's a similar story for them who tied and despite that have made the run that they have, and that's all that matters in the end.
The midfield. Well, Massonoy a little out in front, trying to find Duncan. Duncan, a really tall target for this Project 510 side. He's a 6'6" forward, so brings a lot of height, versatility at that top spot in the formation. These two teams were pretty even throughout the majority of the playoffs. Not many goals scored by either offense, but as you get to the playoffs, you play a number of one seeds like these two have, they start to constrict you a little bit. Trying to run their way through the top. Here's Elliot Forrester out of Oklahoma Christian. He's run off the ball and belongs to Project 510. think you'll see a lot of this in the early going, Griffin. Just a lot of maybe trying to feel out what the exact shape is. We have it down for both sides as a 4-3-3 according to Modular 11, but obviously that is built to kind of shift throughout the game.
Yeah, it certainly will, and I think as we reach past the first 10, 15 minutes, we'll see these teams start to get aggressive. I think FC Tucson will look to overload the right side a little bit in this match. They've got James Jennings on the wing out there, and he's a dynamic player. He's also a guy who has some experience in the stadium. He's a MVC guy playing his collegiate soccer at Missouri State, one of the conference rivals for Bradley. But it's a FC Tucson side that are going to look to push it to the wings just as Project 510 will, but perhaps a few minutes of back and forth just to feel each other out at the beginning.
Continue to work around their own end. There's FC Tucson again. FC Tucson in the gray, Project 510 in the black. That one goes careening off the top portion of the stands, finds its way back out onto the field of play, and will belong for a Tucson throw-in.
Something else that FC Tucson do very well that we sort of saw there, didn't quite work out in this instance, but they brought the winger in to receive the pass and pushed the midfielder on a run to try to bring in the defender to play the initial man and then try to loop it in behind them. So if they can catch the 510 defense napping, they'll be able to open up some space for their infielders like Walczek and Belmudez.
As Paul Kalari couldn't quite get it there. Will be along to Project 510. Edwin Rodriguez, their goaltender today. First time we've said his name. Will dish it off. So Rodriguez will have the play when it's all said and done. And not often you see teams build that short out of the back. Here's Thomas Gray. Trying to get down this left wing. Snuffed out well. One back initially by Tucson. Project 510 down this right side. Nice lead ball forward. Still free. But it will belong to Conchilla.
And that's excellent anticipation from Cancella because he sees the winger making that pass down the flank, and he ends up essentially passing it to himself, running on to try to chase it down on the wing, but the defender with a good insight on the ball and gets there first.
And foul against Project 510. It will belong as a Tucson free kick.
And Cody, for Tucson, they're going to be much more focused on winning the possession battle. As I mentioned, 510 are going to want to play the long ball, try to work inside and out on this Tucson defense. But Tucson will look to control the pace of play. They want to slow down this 510 side, and if they can push the ball along the back line, make the attackers tire out energy off the ball, they'll put themselves in a solid position.
Still along this near side. Belmudez. Here's Nils Roth, and he's got an interesting story in this postseason for a number of reasons. One, because he's been the backup goaltender the last handful of seasons for FC Tucson, but after their main man in goal decided to head back to college, or more or less was probably asked by his coach to head back a little early, Roth has now had to earn all of his starts here in the postseason.
Yeah, well, and Roth's done absolutely excellent. You know, it's only his third start or his fourth start today of the season, but his last three starts came in the last three matches. This is a guy that was on the squad for a while, getting training in, but never really getting comfortable in game play until the time where it really, really counts.
Joao Belmudez trying to create a chance for Tucson.
And I love how he gets involved. He's barking out orders to his back line. 510 trying to pressure the defensive four of Tucson off the ball, but Roth is there being vocal. He's calling for the ball back, and he seems to be pretty solid with his feet as well.
Gray will take the space that is given. Lobbed in from behind, and that will be overcooked just a touch, and Edwin Rodriguez has it for Project 510.
Well, Well, I like the idea, but it's just poor execution from the defender. They're trying to reach Arneson on the left wing, but the ball's curled in toward the box, which means that the grass, and while it is natural grass and will slow the ball down a little bit better than turf, it would have to be absolutely perfect if it's going to amount to anything, because that ball is going to curl in toward the keeper instead of settling down at the feet of the attacker.
Still early goings in this one. We're in the 9th minute here at Shea Stadium in Peoria, Illinois. This will belong to FC Tucson as these two try to find their footing into Sunday's National Semifinal. FC Tucson took down their division champion Ventura County Fusion after a late goal by Lars Wolchek, and he'll be someone again today that is kind of be looked to, man, out of Colorado Springs in Germany. And again, he provided that spark late in the game, and I think the caption was, at least from the USL 2 account, one was enough. And that, again, might be the strategy today, or more or less the outcome.
Well, and especially for these two sides, FC Tucson specifically, that haven't scored a whole lot as of late. We mentioned it earlier, just they've been averaging just under 2 goals in their last 4 games, and after seeing some of these cup ties that have been, seems like no one can stop scoring, and one of those being right here at Shea Stadium last Sunday, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lower scoring match that both these two teams will try to make the opposite.
10th minute we go here in half number 1. Masinoy lays it off to Rodriguez. And Rodriguez takes a quick hesitation, and without anybody coming up to more or less pressure him, he's happy to take his time.
Well, and when you see the high press like this, so much attention is on the attackers who are pressing that first line, but it's also important to make note of the midfielders trying to suffocate those first and second passes as we see the long ball gobbled up by Roth. You have guys like Wolchek that are just sitting in the midfield and not only helping with the press with his attackers, but he's containing what would be essentially the outlet passes and making it so Project 510 can't really get anything going.
Nice run forward here for Tucson. Bermudez has been active here in the first 11 and change. Canchilla trying to feed it in behind to Elliot Forrester. And blocked out a play by Bermudez. It will belong to Project 510. It's a beautiful day here in Illinois. Shea Stadium in Peoria, Illinois. It's a little on the warm side, but the breeze has done its best to keep things cool as it can be. Of course, anticipate it cooling off quite a bit as we get to our second match of our doubleheader later tonight. But in the meantime, these two teams, I'm sure, will give us a great contest. And foul against Project 510. You can hear head coach for FC Tucson, Sebastian Pineda, reminding his team, stay organized. Don't let the ticky-tack stuff get to you.
Well, as we mentioned, Tucson are a side that are coming off a big cup run, trying to do it again this year in the USL 2 championships. And Pineda, a first-year head coach, but a good reason for the consistency is he's been around quite a long time. He's been on the staff for this being his 3rd year, 2 years prior as an assistant, becoming the main manager this season and continuing to enforce the standard of success that they find in Tucson.
Hard tackle, one back in a dangerous spot for 510, and it will belong as a Project 510 corner.
And that's the first time we've really seen 510's press work. We've seen them pushing up a little bit on the defense every once in a while, but that time it was a good challenge, and getting in there was, I believe, Derek Rock, who then won his team the corner, and they have their first real scoring opportunity of this match.
Roberto Gonzalez will take the near-sided corner. Plays it short, back to Gonzalez. Carry over, step, right-footed cross. Sails over everything, but it'll be run down by Eric Duncan. Hesitation from a long way out. Now back to Duncan. He chips it inside, batted away and into the side netting. Well done by Roth.
Yeah, that's a scary one for the keeper because Roth is anticipating a cross there, and as the ball floats in and curls goalwards, he begins to realize that that one is coming near his frame of the net, has to make this quick parry save to push it away, and then the follow-up from a tight angle just wasn't there for 5-1-0.
Joao Bermudez. Nice little flick forward. He's got space for himself and teammates. Plays it out to the left. Whip back inside. Still with Bermudez. And they're going to call a handball.
Well, Bermudez getting called for the handball, but you can't take away the play he made just a moment ago in the middle of the field. Some sharp dribbling from the midfielder to push the ball past two defenders and open up a ton of space, nearly getting on the end of a scoring opportunity, but committing the handball violation.
So Edwin Rodriguez will send a long one over the top, trying to hunt out Duncan. Masinoy plays it forward. 5-1-0 with some numbers. Played through the back. Chance for the team, and it's in the side netting. Nearly put in by Julio Martinez.
Well, that was an opportunity nearly for 5-1-0. A beautiful slow ball behind the defense to the left winger, and that is Julio Martinez, who has been informed. He's still down on the play. I believe he took some contact after firing away that shot. They will bring the trainer on to check on Julio, but 5-1-0 will certainly hope he stays in the match. He's the guy who's been in form, Cody. 2 goals in his last 3 games, and a really good opportunity to have his third in 4 there.
It's a really good run. And he is still down. And training staff comes back over, and Tucson will play on as the officials readied it for play. Coming back down this way. Not a ton of numbers, but you can see how technical they are. They don't need to necessarily have numbers with them to create an opportunity, Griffin. This one lobbed over the top, and for a second you thought the Peoria wind, as we're just off Nebraska Avenue here in Peoria, known for its circling winds at times. The flags have been known to adjust pretty frequently. That one could have curled in.
Yeah, well, it was certainly an optimistic effort. I figured they were going to go over the top, but I didn't think they would go for a goal. They had a pass on the right wing, I believe. It was James Jennings on the wing there who had snuck in behind the center backs. The defensive line was not straight at that point. The right back was significantly closer to goal, leaving a massive gap for the striker to pull in. Just his midfielder thought best to go for a goal in the situation rather than played over the top for the pass.
Masinoy out of Berkeley High School. Got us underway as we're in the 17th minute here at Shea Stadium in Peoria. Looked around the back line, and neither of these two teams taking too risky of chances early on. Isla Alexiv lays it off. And again, Rodriguez. Well, that's just manning his post. I'll play it down the right-hand side.
Well, it's such a good job by the FC Tucson midfield. You can see the wingers kind of shift back where they're almost playing a 4-5-1 on defense and then pushing the wingers up for attack, where they just completely just barricade that midfield line, where it's either you play it over the top or you play it back to your defenders and try to spread out the defense once again.
Masinoy Takes it for a little bit, tries to curl one in behind. Chance for Project 510, and Duncan put it wide left. Derek Rock had the feed in, and Duncan had it on the doorstep but slipped.
And that is just an incredible miss from this 510 offense. A nice diagonal ball that curled just right onto the foot of Derek Rock, who played a very simple, but it's a pass he's got to get perfect, and he put it right on the foot of Duncan, who just pushed it wide left to the far post. And it's one he will want back. He had so much of the goal open, it looked like it should have been 1-0 for the Oakland side.
I should say when I mean he slipped, it looked like he caught it almost in half stride. He didn't quite get his foot all the way squared up, and in that half stride with the right foot kind of swung it wide.
Well, and it almost looked, Cody, like it was like he was taking it like it was just a tap in. There just wasn't a whole lot of force behind the ball. He kind of let the momentum of the ball dictate where it was going to end up, and in this case, it ended up wide.
Played in the back again. Nicely done, though, by Project 510 to play it without fouling. They were trying to pick out Arneson, but Tucson still with it. They could play it short. Again, Forrester. Does get it to Arneson. Turns. Belmudez chipped inside, and the offside flag is up as it sails into the pines.
Yeah, well, it ends in offside, but Tucson looking very good there with the short passing. There were so many bodies clustered up on the near side here by the left side corner flag, and it looked for a moment's time that there was just nothing they were going to be able to do to break out of it. But a couple of quick passes worked the ball back to the middle of the pitch, and just a slight mistiming from the Tucson attack. Otherwise, they could have been in on goal.
Rodriguez distributes to the far side. Rodriguez trying to hunt it out over the top. Trying to hunt out the speedster downside the field, nearly inside the penalty area, as FC Tucson for a moment nearly got called for the foul.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those where unless the contact is egregious, it's never going to get called. The ball was possessed by Tucson, and they're heading it back to their goalie. It would have been, if anything, a foul off of the ball, and it doesn't make sense for the referee to blow the whistle in that situation unless it's egregious.
Again, back out wide. They've had success from this area of the field. Takes the cross in, plays it short. Julio Martinez. Back to Gonzalez. He'll go low, flicks it inside. Duncan, and just not enough velocity on it as Roth easily corrals it.
Yeah, well, and Duncan did a well enough job just to get to that ball. The cross was behind him, and it's so difficult to contort your body and put that on frame, but the tall striker did that. It's just leaning away from the goal and having to just throw your shoulders into it, essentially. Just impossible to get enough power on the header to challenge the keeper.
Again, Elliot Forrester, and out of Sydney, Australia. In 39 games and 36 starts for Oklahoma Christian. Oh, and it's a nicely put header. And look for just a moment that Joao Belmudez could have had a chance to run along the side with it. So we get near the halfway point of this first half. It's about 22 minutes elapsed here in Peoria. Again, a spot in the National Semifinals on the line here in the Western Conference Finals. Winner will get the winner of our second match between Flint City and Peoria City. That game coming later tonight after the conclusion of this one. We would give you an exact time, but we've seen with games in this stadium, we could go just the full 90. We could go perhaps all the way to the 115th or a little longer yet. As there's a foul as Joao Belmudez tried to run on and give it a good effort.
Yeah, well, it's unlike the majority of the match there as the yellow card comes out. It's been a first 22 and a half minutes of very clean soccer where both teams playing it along, a lot of composure, both sides not giving away the ball in the defensive half of the pitch too often, but that time we see a mistake and then a quick foul, and Tucson with the opportunity to whip it in and have an opportunity.
Canchila will have it to himself on this FC Tucson free kick. What little wind there is blowing directly into your screen here, so exactly from the other side bleachers towards us here at the press box. Not a bad service, flicked away by 510. And this will be a throw-in for FC Tucson.
And it was interesting on that free kick because it looked like only one or two of the Tucson players are actually trying to get to that ball. The service in was kind of just shunned away by most of the side, potentially looking for a header back across for a finish, but it just wasn't there as the header's cleared away by the striker.
Long throw-in towards that front post. It's still free. Belongs with Tucson. Shot put on, blocked out of play. We'll have it again for a corner for FC Tucson.
And it's so difficult to find shots on frame when there's so many bodies in the box like that, but I like the idea, just a hard-driven ball toward the far post. I guess we'll never know if it would have found the inside or if it would have just gone wide, but it was hard and it was at the net. Just so many bodies in the box, and one of the 510 defender is able to poke it away at the last second for the corner.
Near side corner for Tucson. Driven towards that back post. Rodriguez goes down, and an easy call for the officials. And it looked like perhaps Ellis Jones may have come down on his back for FC Tucson. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, well, and it's such a difficult play because Edwin Rodriguez in net is coming out to claim that ball. But, of course, no one is looking at each other. They're all looking up at the ball coming through the air, and bodies collide. It was a scary, scary fall for the keeper, who I'm honestly surprised, Cody, popped up as quickly as he did compared to the one who ran into him. But Rodriguez appears fine after going head first into the ground.
He resumed play. Edwin Rodriguez. And a foul against Project 510. And see the official and wanting to have no more of that kind of contact. Ball through the middle, taken away. Can Eric Duncan run onto this one? Duncan still. Duncan plays it past. Duncan opens it up. No, it's blocked away. What a stop. FC Tucson keeps it level.
That is absolutely incredible, Cody. You have Eric Duncan, who gets through, pushes the ball past the last defender of Thomas Gray, and coming out outside of the 18 was Roth, putting himself in a helpless position. Calmly, the attacker dribbles around the keeper, and at the last second, Tucson slide in and keep this one scoreless. Duncan was wheeling away to celebrate. He thought it was in, but it's still 0-0.
Near side corner. This game has no right to be level after that attack and then recovery effort. Ball played on, and a foul in behind for Project 510, and they'll go quick, and the official wants to have this brought back.
Yeah, I think he's making sure that, and I believe that is Thomas Camier that's going to get the yellow. I believe they're just making sure that he knows he was booked, because he was running away from that play as soon as he committed the tactical foul to get back into position as the center back. But our referee bringing it back to halt to make sure that he can accurately assess the booking.
28th minute. Again, if you're just tuning in, Cody Roskins alongside me, Griffin Leonard, as it looked like, for all intents and purposes, that Project 510 should be leading this game 1-0, but a heck of an effort by the defense for Tucson, curling it in after Roth, who's typically the backup goaltender, was beaten. Now Roth, out of his own end again, will play it up the near channel. Ball still free and owned by Project 510. Great one-on-one wars going on right now across the near side, and belongs with 510.
Well, and even if they didn't convert that scoring chance, there's still a lot of good things to be taken from the scoring chance. It's completely altered the dynamic of play. Project 510 looks so much more confident on the ball. They're winning these midfield battles now, something that they were not doing in the opening 15-20 minutes. And it's solid signs from the NorCal side as they try to find that first goal that they thought they had, but narrowly evaded them.
Ball over the top. Kind of gets caught up in the wind just a bit. And if this game ends up level at the break, Project 510 will have to wonder what could have been going into the locker room and have to find a way to generate another chance. Ball takes a really good bounce for FC Tucson off the header. Bermudez again trying to feed it through the back, and that seems to be a popular choice for these two sides, trying to play those weighted balls kind of through the back line.
Well, and it's good anticipation from the center back, but the interesting thing will be how does Tucson respond here, because it looks like, as there's another takeaway, it looks like in the opening minutes they had enough possession to really just push forward slowly, but as we've seen here in the last few minutes, the Oakland side, they've reacted to they've anticipated the pass, Cody, rather than reacting to it, and it's become significantly harder as a result for Tucson to build anything from the midfield.
Thomas Gray. That was the captain, Canchila. You can hear FC Tucson wanting someone to make a run. Big run through the penalty area and will result in a FC Tucson corner.
Well, it's a good sliding challenge in the end from Alexeyev, who's there to save the day after the quick run in from the striker. But I think what Tucson will want to see a little bit more here in the last 15 minutes of the first half is just some more creativity. They're going with the simple ball, and that is what 510 have done a good job of seeing and defending here in the last few minutes. If they can be a little more creative, they might be able to find themselves in behind.
A lot of bodies towards the back post, so a lot of room for options in terms of cutting to the front or near side. High arcer towards the back post, headed forward, punched away by Rodriguez. And 510 clears it out.
Yeah, and I'm not sure they'll give him the save there, as it looked to be a pass across the face that Rodriguez got to, but he dealt with the attack. But Tucson on here again.
Body starting to get forward now for Tucson. 4 in the attack, played forward. Bermudez is onside, hesitates back, fires, cross goal, and Rodriguez smacks it out of play.
Well, and it's Will Arneson who's putting his hands up on his head after that one. He had made a beautiful crisscrossing run into the edge of the 6, just in between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot. He had his hands set for a just pass and a redirection, but instead they went for goal, and the save is made by Rodriguez for the corner.
Far side Tucson corner. Haven't taken advantage of many of these yet. Line towards the front post. Ball will belong to Project 510. Here's Forrester laying it off to Roth. Again, these teams really swapping a punch and counter punch, just kind of feeling each other out as we're beyond the 33rd. Gray trying to play it in behind, and just too much foot speed along that back line for 510 to really have too much of a threatening chance on it. Rodriguez lays it off, and We haven't seen a ton of real threatening attacks from 510 since that Eric Duncan goalless drive. So we have just over 10 minutes till the halftime break. Ollie Massanon. Nice dribble go. Trying to lob it in behind, but Roth is there. Gray laid it off to Roth. This one sent down the far side. It will dance along that far-sided touchline. Well placed to James Jennings, and it will belong to FC Tucson. Not a lot separating these two teams here in the first half, Griffin. And as we take a look at the scoreboard in the semi-official stats, 4 shots, 2 saves, 2 corners for Tucson, or excuse me, for Project 510. And for the visitors on the scoreboard, 4 shots, 2 saves, 3 corners. So almost identical between these two. Eric Duncan. Again, 6'6". He stands as he presents a long stride for that back line to have to deal with. Elliot Forrester, he's dispossessed. Julio Martinez. Martinez still lays it off. Rock outside again. Gonzalez whipped inside. And it will belong to Project 510.
We're seeing a little bit more of a move from Julio Martinez, who is trying to just will himself into the pace of things as he finds himself on the ball at the top of the 18.
Had a chance, maybe if he could have caught that a little cleaner on the first touch. Instead, it's Roth with the possession, and now FC Tucson try to find a way out of their own end.
Well, and Martinez is one of the shorter players on the pitch, so it's not like he can get himself involved too much in the 18 as far as the cross goes. So that one filter out of play. But
offside flag was up there. Continue, Griffin. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say Martinez is going to try to find some space on the ball, try to create some space. With the lack of height comes a little bit of a quickened pace for the player. And the midfielder, if he can open up some space for his attackers. I know Duncan still he hasn't forgotten about that chance earlier, Cody, 10 minutes ago. And Duncan will want another one. He'll try to open up some space for himself if Martinez can find some for him.
Ball falls to Belmudez. He's able to evade and continue his run. Options out left, gets it there. Arneson forgot the ball for just a moment. Tries to pivot back. Arneson continues to drive on. And officials say no foul, play on. Roth takes a one-touch, and looks like the offside flag along the near side was up, but had that not been the case, there was a real chance for Roth. As I was about to say, he's playing an extremely high kind of mark here, north of the 18.
Yeah, they're really forcing Project 510 to build their chances away from goal. It's something that's worked out for them for the most part, except for the couple of times and nearly there again where they've been beat over the top. And we just talked about Julio Martinez, his ability to create for himself. That time he made the run, just his teammate wasn't quite in sync with him on the pass until he was in an offside position.
Foul against FC Tucson. It's well defended on the advance from Paul Kalari. 38th minute here in half number 1. Again, these two teams playing in the Western Conference Finals of the USL 2 playoffs. Winner will advance to Sunday to take on either Flint City or Peoria City. That game taking place tonight, about an hour after the conclusion of this one, whenever that comes. Obviously, we have different postseason rules than we do in the regular season. If we remain scoreless after 90 minutes, we will go to extra time. An extra half-hour period, that is, separated by two 15-minute segments. And if we're still scoreless after that, as you and I know, Griffin, we will go to penalty kicks, as it was famously said here on this field just last Sunday.
It was quite a match, wasn't it? I've since Sunday, I've replayed that story to a couple of my friends a couple of times, a couple of soccer fans who are envious that that we got to see, and not only see, but commentate on what was one of the wilder soccer games that I've ever been to.
Yeah, I've ever seen. Has been a popular phrase thrown around the Peoria media outlets and circuits as the quotes from the players and coaches start to rain in. Wildest game, most memorable game, most intense game, hardest played game I've ever seen is what a lot of players, coaches, and fans have been saying about Peoria City and the Menace match back on Sunday. And we'll have a first half sub for Project 510 as Juan Sanchez checks into the contest. Forrester trying to scan for some options. Played inside. Roberto Gonzalez, Duncan inside, Duncan, and we will have a penalty chance. I'm going to say got him with the forearm. So it'll be Eric Duncan against Nils Roth for what could be the match's opening goal. A bit of a slight slant in there.
Yeah, I feel like Duncan, and of course you're in the 18, you're looking for contact, but there wasn't a whole lot in it, and I completely understand the cries of frustration for Tucson. There was certainly contact, Cody, and it's probably a foul in the defensive third. But moving in, you can see Duncan, he's going to the ground as he makes that cut. You can tell he's anticipating contact to the lower body, and he gets the call from the referee here, and an opportunity after Duncan didn't score on what looked to be an open goal before a heroic diving effort. Now he's won himself a penalty, and there's a chance for 510 to take the lead here at the end of the first half.
Well, we saw penalty stops last Sunday by both the Menace and Peoria City. Do we have another one here today? Aliel Masinoy will be the penalty taker for Project 510 for the 510 lead. Nils Roth in goal, trying to save this level before the half. Put in, it is 1-0 to Project 510. It'll go down as a 41st minute penalty goal. And Project 510, the NorCal side, has the edge.
Well, and it wasn't necessarily the best of penalties from Masinoy, but it sent the goalkeeper the wrong way, and at that point it doesn't matter high or low. If the goalkeeper's diving the wrong side, then as long as you find the frame, that's all that it matters. And of course discussions will go back to the foul, but in the end, it's no VAR at this level, obviously. So the penalty's called, the goal's converted, and now it's up to FC Tucson to stop the complaints and just get back into it and try to respond here.
So we have it down as a 41st minute goal for Project 510 as FC Tucson will try and answer before the break. Laid off to Rodriguez. Ball over the top, trying to find Julio Martinez. Excuse me, that's Juan Sanchez along that left side now. Just about 3 minutes before halftime. Again, just tuning in, Project 510 takes the early, I should say early anymore. We had the early opportunity for them off the Duncan miss, and late in this first half, off the penalty make by El Masinoy.
Scored in the 41st minute on the PK by number 45, Ali El Masinoy.
And another hard foul. This will be a yellow card against FC Tucson. So a free kick here before the break in a semi-dangerous position.
Yeah, well, and that's just teammates coming to the defense of teammates there, as we see what looked to be a difficult challenge and going down. I believe it was Walczek that went down initially for the Tucson side, and then after 5-1-0 had won possession, we see Cancella come in and wipe him out, which of course draws the yellow card, but at least gets some sort of consolation for his teammate who is still on the ground in pain.
Ali Almasinoy comes over the top. Now on the right side, if they choose to play it short, is a very tight, bunched up formation just on top of the 18. Three-man wall for FC Tucson. Headed towards Duncan, still free. Chance to break out here for FC Tucson. They've got some momentum forward. Going through the midfield, but taken away by Gonzalez. James Jennings trying to get in the mix there. 45th minute here in the first half. Ball stabbed away. It will belong to FC Tucson before the break. A quick throw in. Paul Kalari tries to chip it in, but no one there on a potential rebound. Oh, strong run along this near side for Rock. Lays it off, Gonzalez. Back inside, Eric Duncan, and they will say play on.
And I honestly believe, Cody, there was more contact on that one than the penalty that was not there that was given 5 minutes ago. There was quite a bit of significant contact to the ankle of Eric Duncan, unless he timed a dive just right. It looked like he got cleaned out, but the referee not entertaining that one after just awarding a penalty 5 minutes ago.
Won't have a ton of stoppage time tacked back on as everybody appears to be ready to go once more as we are elapsed the 45th minute here in the first half. Time officially being kept on the field now. Along this near side, out to FC Tucson. Conchilla. Gives it away in a poor spot, laid off. Cam Wilkerson decides to distribute. It appears Project 510 may be okay taking this to the locker room. Hesitates, finds a little bit of open space. Puts on a shot, Roth denies it.
Well, that's what happens when you give Gonzalez space. I mean, they were pressing on the far wing to try to generate a takeaway in the midfield, but once 510 broke out of the pressure, they had so much daylight, and Gonzalez's shot, a somewhat difficult save by the keeper, who goes down hard to his right side to push it away.
Elliot Forrester. On the near side. Alexiev gets it up to Rock, now to Duncan. Space in the midfield. Cam Wilkerson lays it off. Loads up, dribbles inside, play on. And we will have the halftime whistle as we've reached the end of the first frame of this match. It's 1-0 in favor of Project 510. Griffin, it was an up and down at times first half, but for the most part, both teams kind of picking and choosing their chances.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Cody, I figured we were going to go scoreless but into the 45, but a penalty kick awarded in minute number 40 and converted in minute number 41 for 510, who find themselves in front here in Central Illinois.
Again, these two teams playing for a shot in the National Semifinal on Sunday here at Shea Stadium. They'll get the winner between Flint City and Peoria City For the time being, we'll step aside for a short break as we get you ready for the second half.
Central Illinois, we're going to overtime. After 4 years of preps coverage in Central Illinois, Eclipse Sports Media is ready for a new era, CSM Overtime.
What is CSM Overtime? We're going beyond the broadcast to give you in-depth coverage of your teams,
Your stories, your stats and standings.
your highlights and action shots.
With your subscription, you'll get to see news and feature stories from all sports, up-to-date stats from around the area, and thoughtful analysis from our team of experts. As for our broadcast and social media coverage, it's only getting better.
With your support of Clutch Sports Media Overtime, we'll continue to grow our free broadcast coverage with more sports, more games, and more innovation.
And thanks to our partnership with Too Efficient Media, your social media feeds will be filled with Central Illinois' best sights and sounds. CSM Overtime will also give you access to full galleries from some of the most talented photographers and videographers in our region.
As the new season approaches, it's time for more.
More action, more stories.
More coverage of all Central Illinois sports. It's Clutch Sports Media Overtime.
Welcome to our halftime break here at beautiful Shea Stadium in Peoria, Illinois. Griffin Leonard here with Nick Dorn for our halftime report as Project 510 lead 1-0 at the break to FC Tucson. I'd like to thank everyone tuning in from the West Coast as we bring you the Western Conference Final here nowhere near the West Coast, Nick. But despite the lack of maybe traveling support, it's been a really good match as these two teams have fought nail to nail, and the Oakland side find themselves with a small advantage at the break.
Yeah, they're both working very hard. Oakland got a great chance, and midway through the first half, 62 had a one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Great save though by Tucson's defender, but later in the half we got a penalty kick, 41st minute. Great goal though.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was Eric Duncan generating both of those chances for Project 510, breaking through the forward line, getting in on goal, and they thought it was 1-0. Like I said, he was wheeling away to celebrate, and the bench was reacting. They thought it was in, but it was not to be cleared off the line by FC Tucson, and you'd think maybe FC Tucson would generate some momentum off of that, but no. It was actually the California side that took all the momentum going forward. FC Tucson struggling to generate opportunities, and in the end they get the penalty kick. But as far as FC Tucson goes, what do you think that they have to do here in the second half to try to generate some more opportunities in the forward third?
I think they're still playing a little bit too slow. They are still hanging back a little bit more. Their defense is working hard, but they need to push the ball more, create more chances. They need more shots. They have just half the shots that Oakland has. They need more shots, and one will go in.
Well, we've got some interesting substitutions on the rise for FC Tucson. I'm sure we'll see Joao Neves, who can come in and make an impact, but we've seen, for the most part, an FC Tucson offense and an attack that's been stifled for the majority of this game. Early on in the first 10 minutes or so, we saw them control the midfield. We saw them work the ball to the wings, not having to rely on the 40, 50-yard over-the-top ball. But in the latter stages of the first half, that is what we saw from the Arizona-based club. and they'll be looking to try to generate a little bit more positive momentum in half number 2. Now, I know you mentioned it a little bit, the goalkeepers trying to make an impact. Nils Roth on FC Tucson and Edwin Rodriguez on Project 501. And those goalkeepers, they've been pretty solid for the majority of this contest.
Yeah, Oakland's goalkeeper has had some great saves. He's also been controlling the game a lot. He's been holding the ball. Beginning of the first half, Oakland really held the ball back, but at about the 15th minute, they started pushing more. But the first 15 minutes, it was all him and the defender's game.
Yeah, well, both of the goaltenders, you're right, doing a good job of controlling, giving instructions, really being in charge of that back line as you want a good goaltender to do. And they seem confident out there, which is good, especially considering Nils Roth for FC Tucson, who we saw very vocal in the first half. He, as we mentioned during the broadcast, is pretty new to this side, at least as far as actually being in the games. He's been a reserve on the side for 2 or 3 seasons. But with their starting goalkeeper leaving the season just a few weeks before the playoffs, Roth has come in and been superb throughout the playoffs and trying to get them over the line into the National Semifinals. But for both of these teams, a lot of exciting talent. Project 510, for example, an Oakland Roots affiliate, the Oakland Roots in the UCL Championship out of the North Bay. And FC Tucson, they have a lot of talent as well. One of their defenders, Ellis Jones, in the central defense. He started his career in England. He's an Englishman playing for Port Vale, who currently sits in the EFL League 2. And it's great to see at this level. A lot of talent.
Yeah,
the playoffs, an opportunity on maybe a little bit of a larger scale to make an impression, to try to build their young careers.
Yeah. Lots of young guys, but you know, they're all very talented. Lots of college people from the States. Very athletic, very talented. And I'm happy to see that people from international countries are coming, playing in America. It's good for the sport.
Yeah, the game of soccer is certainly growing, and certainly we're big fans of that here in Peoria, Illinois. Just about 8 minutes to go until we kick off the second half. As both of these sides trying to prepare and get ready for the next 45. These are 2 second-place teams in the regular season that were not expected to maybe make as much of a run as they were, but the same could be said about Peoria City in our next match. Let's talk quickly about that. Peoria City taking on the Flint City Bucks in our second semifinal. That game set for approximately 7:30. Not sure if that'll get moved up or down depending on how long this match goes. But for Peoria City, first postseason victory just 1 week ago today. Then one of the greatest matches, well, the greatest match in club history, one of the best matches of the USL League 2 season on Sunday. Where do they go from here as far as trying to move on and play one of these teams in the National Semifinals?
You know, both teams playing in the next game had very, very crazy games in their last game. Flint went down to 9 men. They still came out on top, but even Peoria went down in men, still came out with a crazy win in PKs. You know, you gotta be sound, you gotta be together. It's really just any man's game, but I mean, you just gotta keep working hard, keep pushing the ball, get as many chances as you can get.
Yeah, the Flint City Bucks, one of USL League 2's best. You're right, 9 men, and how often do you see not only a team concede 2 red cards, but then despite that, find a goal at the death, and they advance to play Peoria City. That game will start here just in a few hours. You can find that right here on Sports Engine, right under the Peoria City tab, and we look forward to bringing you the coverage for that game as well as the conclusion of this one. We have just about 6 minutes to go. We're going to send it to a break here in Peoria. When we get back, we'll have second half coverage from the campus of Bradley University at Shea Stadium. It's Project 510 and FC Tucson in the USL League 2 Western Conference Final.
Central Illinois, we're going to overtime. After 4 years of preps covered in Central Illinois, Clutch Sports Media is ready for a new era. CSM Overtime.
What is CSM Overtime? We're going beyond the broadcast to give you in-depth coverage of your teams,
Your stories, your stats and standings.
your highlights and action shots.
With your subscription, you'll get to see news and feature stories from all sports, up-to-date stats from around the area, and thoughtful analysis from our team of experts. As for our broadcast and social media coverage, it's only getting better.
With your support of Clutch Sports Media Overtime, we'll continue to grow our free broadcast coverage with more sports, more games, and more innovation.
And thanks to our partnership with Too Efficient Media, your social media feeds will be filled with Central Illinois' best sights and sounds. CSM Overtime will also give you access to full galleries from some of the most talented photographers and videographers in our region.
As the new season approaches, it's time for more.
More action, more stories.
More coverage of all Central Illinois sports. It's Clutch Sports Media Overtime.
Welcome back to Shea Stadium here in Peoria, Illinois. It's Project 510 out in front, 1-0 against FC Tucson here in the Western Conference Finals. I'm Cody Roskins. Alongside me, Griffin Leonard. Griffin, it was an action-packed first half. These two teams, though, as we touched on, have a heck of a story to this point in their seasons. They're two of the chaos-causing two seeds, so to speak. But for Project 510, it's been a unique trip.
Yeah, for Project 510, they've had a unique trip just to get here today. But over the course of the season, it's been a really solid season for the boys who have really defied expectations. It's a team that is relatively new to the USL as a whole, and their first real cup run, and making it all the way to the third round, an opportunity to make it to the National Semifinal if they can see out these final 45 minutes. It's been an impressive win streak for them. 8 games now that they've won. Their last loss coming on June the 26th, and just the second postseason berth, but they're making it worthwhile. They're making it a good one and an opportunity to extend it even further.
Absolutely. Now for the other side, FC Tucson, this is their 7th berth in the USL 2/PDL. So this is their 5th conference finals appearance in total. Finished second in the Southwest Division, 26 total points. They had a very good mark against Ventura County, 2 goals or less in 4 straight matches. Another note for them, they finished outside the playoffs by a point last season. So now this team going on a run all the way to the Western Conference Finals has to be a very special moment for this club.
Yeah, they're looking to go on a run and continue to create it, just missing out a season ago. And for Tucson, it's a team with a lot more experience than 5-1-0 in the scape of USL, but it's a team that has something to prove, and they have a deficit to overcome here in half number 2.
Well, they scored a late one in their last playoff match to take the win, and might take a similar effort here in half number 2 to try and force the draw. Again, here at the break, Project 510 leads FC Tucson 1-0. As we get ready for the second half action to commence, both teams starting to trickle their way out of the locker room. We see behind us here FC Tucson will be the first team to be out on the field. And again, just beautiful day here in Peoria for some playoff soccer. We're anticipating a very large crowd tonight for the Peoria City and Flint City Bucks match. Peoria City, one of the best teams in the USL too in terms of attendance. They brought in over 2,000 for a couple exhibitions this season against Chivas. Obviously, huge Chivas contingency between Chicago, Peoria, St. Louis, making the trip here to see that team in action. But they averaged just north over 1,100 fans for a home game, and so that home crowd looking to cheer on their Carp and do a national semifinal tonight.
Yeah, I expect to see a pretty raucous crowd here tonight, and it's a soccer community that maybe you wouldn't think of when you first think of Central United States soccer hubs, but the city of Peoria loves the Carp, and they're going to show out tonight and try to will these these Peoria City men into yet another cup tie against the winner of this matchup. But Flint City, quite the formidable opponent, and they will look to stop the hopes and dreams of the home side tonight.
So we get ready to go for half number 2. FC Tucson has made their way back out onto the field. No halftime adjustments yet. Doing a read off the card situation for you after the first half. Walczek and Conchila both with yellows for FC Tucson. Project 510, Camier is the only one for them. And so as we wait for the Oakland side, maybe running on the West Coast time zone here to get out of the locker room, it's going to be a good one in the second half. You can kind of feel the energy that both teams had toward the end of the break. After that goal by Project 510, Tucson had some chances to break down this end, couldn't capitalize on a few corners. Ultimately, their big hiccup in the first half.
Yeah, well, they really just struggled at the back half of the first, and they'll be looking to overturn that momentum as we get going early in the second. It's going to be a very important 10-15 minutes out of the get-go, because if 510 can come out with the same momentum, try to generate a chance, and if they can steal a second on this Tucson side, it's going to be uphill sledding the rest of the way. And if Tucson, on the other hand, can punch them in the mouth right out of the break and find that equalizer, then it truly is anybody's match after that.
Project 510 has made their way back out. We keep saying how nice of a day it is. We should note it is a very warm one at times here in Peoria. As soon as that wind dies down, we are on the tar and shingle roof press box here at Shea Stadium, so we're catching a little bit of the breeze, but staying cool when we can. The team's down on the field, though, absorbing all that heat in. It is a natural grass surface here at Shea Stadium, which helps because it's not an artificial turf where all the black tire pellets or the artificial synthetic grass really kind of soak up the heat.
Yeah, and the pitch is going to stay in some decent condition because of this. It took quite a bit of rain on Sunday, but they did some work on it during the week. A couple patches you could see here and there that are maybe a little worse for wear, but that's always going to happen with natural grass. But the pitch looks good. The teams look refreshed and rehydrated. So are we, I might add, and we get ready to go for half number 2.
Again, movement and attack directions here in half number 2. FC Tucson will work left to right. Project 510 will work right to left. Project 510 in the black uniforms, white shorts. FC Tucson in the all grays with white trim. Little work on, little maintenance on the net hook for FC Tucson's end, and nothing too worrisome as we are ready to go here in the second half, and it'll be FC Tucson with the second half kickoff. As we get ready to break this 45-minute period, we'll run down another quick segment of the stats for you. 6 shots, 2 saves, 2 corners for Project 510 for the visitors on the scoreboard. FC Tucson, 4 shots, 3 saves, 3 corners. So we get ready to go here in half number 2. Going over the top, and it was well headed back. It belonged to Tucson.
Well, and Tucson, Cody, are going to try to put pressure on early in the second half. They will obviously be disappointed, and I'm sure that the manager, Sebastian Pineda, will have given his boys a stern team talk in the halftime break, try to get some fight out of his men and try to push for an equalizer early here in the second. We'll see if they can try to find some possession and put some pressure on the back line of the Oakland side.
510 has it. Ball falls in kind of a tricky spot. Belmudez is going to try and win it back for Tucson. Ball played up this near channel, and it is taken away. Well done by DeAndre Pickett. I was talking to some of the members and coaching staffs for the game and some of the people working with FC Tucson, and talking about DeAndre Pickett, described as an anchor along that back line. He was a sophomore All-American in junior college. And one thing I really kind of noted, and it's unique, is, you know, a lot of times, at least in the United States, you see a distinct international kind of slant for, you know, favorite athletes. But favorite athlete for DeAndre Pickett? LeBron James, according to his college bio.
And that's certainly interesting. You'd think a lot of them would be
some sort of soccer player.
Soccer player, you know, a Messi, a Ronaldo, and Mbappe. But maybe if he's defender like maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold, you know, Serginho Dest, but LeBron James, I'd love to see LeBron take on the sport of soccer.
Chance for Tucson through the advanced position, chipped back post, still there. Arneson puts it back inside, and there was nobody home. And that will belong to Project 510.
Well, and that was a really good opportunity. They had Arneson one-on-one with the final defender in the middle of the box, chip ball back post, but just over the head of Arneson, who was moving to the back post, just couldn't quite get to the ball and hit it first time.
Line back inside, kicked out. It never got to Rodriguez because the back line was quick enough, but FC Tucson asking some questions here early second half. That was a fair cross from Kalari, is normally figured as a very physical presence in the forward position, a central striker more or less, but a fair service in.
Yeah, and it's a very dangerous start of the second half for this Tucson side. It's exactly what they will want, and the only reason I won't call it perfect is because they haven't found the equalizer yet, but the road they're going down, they can continue to put pressure in the 18. They will have a good opportunity to find that.
Roberto Gonzalez switches play to the near side. Dribbling in. Can Project 510 open it up again? Roth, it looked like it was going wide, but felt like he needed to make the effort on it.
Yeah, well, and 510's opportunities early in the second half are going to come from the counterattack, as we just saw. They get the ball out wide to the left side for Roberto Gonzalez, who puts a move on his defender and gets the ball to his left foot. Although the problem there being it's an incredibly tight angle. He pushed it well wide, but getting the benefit of the unnecessary save from Roth.
Played short, put back in, and that nearly dribbled under Roth. Still there. Headed down and still free. Tucson just trying to clear it out of their own end, and will do so.
Very, very scary there for Tucson, because Roth is standing there in the middle of the goal ready for the cross. The ball gets played short, and he doesn't make the necessary adjustment to guard his near post, and they nearly bent it in there for a second.
And Duncan tried to make the slanting run in. Instead, it was taken in by Roth. And nobody making a run along the near side, and nothing too dangerous after the header. Roberto Gonzalez. A lot of speed forward. Chips it ahead to Duncan, and will be a goal kick.
Well, the pass in the end wasn't there, but it was such a low effort move by 510 to build from the back, and it worked to perfection. You have Rodriguez just sitting there as a foul will come in, and the ball will go back to the Californians. But the ball's Rodriguez just sitting there on the top of the 18, just letting the Tucson defense come closer and closer and closer, and then just lobs it over the top to the attacking midfielder, who's wide open and just couldn't play that pass into the attacker.
Well, if there's anything we know about this point in the playoffs, there are no bad teams left, right? And it's hard to be a bad team and qualify for this postseason tournament, as these two teams have found their way all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and will try and punch their ticket to the National Semifinal this Sunday here at Shea Stadium. And it's moves like that maybe you connect on one or two, that'll get you there. Tactically, Griffin, how does this kind of change the second half for FC Tucson? Obviously, still plenty of time to find the equalizer, but unlike our prior game, one with Peoria City and Des Moines, but also Des Moines and Bavaria, and that didn't have goals till very late in the game to where they had to kind of abandon any hope of defending. What's kind of the mentality shift here?
Well, this is definitely a different game, despite the similar feel from Bavaria and Des Moines. That game was very, very back and forth as far as momentum went in the second half. So far in the second half, we've seen 510 get a few opportunities, but they've come off of the counterattack. Tucson are going to try to control possession. You can see just a moment ago they were building around the back, but their back line was at the midfield stripe. They're trying to get bodies forward. Obviously, that leaves them exposed should they give the ball away, which we saw just a couple moments ago for Project 510 nearly having a chance. But over the long run, if Tucson can control the ball, which, as you mentioned just a minute ago, there's no bad teams. They're certainly capable of doing that. If they can continue to control momentum and get bodies down the pitch, then they're going to be able to put some shots on target eventually.
Ball finds its way out of play to Project 510 along this near side. And if you're watching in Oakland, I'm sure you have a smile across your face right now as it's a 1-0 lead, as this will belong to Project 510. And this has been a team that's kind of battled the ups and downs all year. They had to deal with a tough tiebreaker to give them a 2 seed, but Tucson trying to play it in from behind. Walczak scored a game winner last time out. Belmudez. Conchila. Now to Thomas. Thomas Gray puts it forward and was overcooked.
Oh, and they had Eric Duncan. If they wanted to build quickly, he was running. It was one-on-one, but they didn't play the pass, and then they've got to move from midfield.
Ball turned back into the midfield. The goal scorer, El Masanoy. Able to push the tempo, now back out wide. Project 510, back post, and just either the shot was too wide or the pass was too early, one of the two.
Well, and it's so scary as a goaltender. Roth is helpless to just watch that ball scream across the face of a 6-yard box. But Project 510, they had a couple bodies deep. They had Roberto Gonzalez and then Juan Sanchez, the 17-year-old who entered the game for Project 510 right before the break. And they were just a couple of strides short of tapping that one in for the second.
And a foul against Project 510. We'll give it back to FC Tucson. Again, they try and find themselves an equalizer here in half number 2 to keep their season alive. Like we said, still plenty of time to find one.
And on the topic of the 17-year-old, Juan Sanchez is a guy who I was honestly surprised not to see start today. He brings so much dangerousness from the top wing, and
they will call a foul against FC Tucson. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that one. It looked like the ball was played in well. The more physical player won the inside position. Griffin, unless you see it differently, I thought that was, at the minimum, a play on.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where the referees will bail out the defender if they get beat with a lot of contact. That time, I agree with you. I think the whistle's got to stay in the pocket. There's not a reason for a foul to be called when that ball is played over to the right wing, and it's just two guys going shoulder to shoulder challenging for the ball.
Well, especially, I mean, if that's necessarily what the par for the course for a foul is going to be, then there probably shouldn't have been a penalty in the first half. It's been a well-officiated game to this point. There's only been 1 or 2 question marks, and one of those was the penalty, which opened up some questions. That one's blocked out for a corner.
Well, and that's once again Juan Sanchez making things happen on the left wing. He plays a nice little ball to Roberto Gonzalez, who was overlapping him behind. And Gonzalez just kind of slipped trying to deliver that left-footed service in. But he had bodies in the box. But it's just another example. I was talking before the chance with the foul down on the other side. Sanchez, he's got 4 goals, and he's played in 16 matches, now 17. Just not getting the start today for Oakland.
Line towards the front of the 6, free, Duncan. Turns, blocked out of play again. It will be a goal kick for FC Tucson.
Well, and Duncan kind of just throws his hands up in frustration after that one. He took a poor touch that pushed the ball to the end line. He would have wanted it down at his feet to be able to put a quick shot on, and then trying to push it back into the middle, crossed it off the defender, back into his chest and out of play, so he didn't even win a corner kick after all the trouble.
And it's been a fairly unclinical day for Duncan. He had the 2 opportunities in the first half, one where he spit it just wide in the opening 10 minutes or so, and then around the 20th when he thought he had everybody beat, but the play in from behind for FC Tucson saved another goal. So it's been a frustrating day for him so far.
It's been a frustrating day, but it's also important to note that
he's winning.
He's winning, and he won the penalty for his side in the first half. He's not necessarily had the finishing quality that he expects of himself and his team expects of him, but he's been able to make himself a presence in the 18 and cause defensive mistakes as showcased at the end of the first half.
Ellis Jones, the man who made the spectacular sliding play to save a Project 5-1-0 goal in the first half that we were just referencing.
You see, as the substitution will come in, Derek Rock kind of just letting that ball go. I would have liked to see him play it down. He had the time and he had the space to cruise into the right wing had he kept the ball from going out over the touchline, but he lets it out, an attacking throw possibility for Project 5-1-0. We haven't seen them necessarily employ the long throw-in like we'll see tonight with Peoria City, but they have two bodies in the 18, or at least right around the 18, and a chance to try to find a second goal, as they have been able to find a little bit more momentum than I think we anticipated them having early in the second half. It was 3 or 4 minutes of Tucson really going at them hard and aggressive, and since then it's been pretty even. 2
subs for Project 5-1-0. We'll give you those in just a second as this one's headed out. It'll be number 39, Javier Baldola Vera, and number 64, Samuel Huesa, for Project 5-1-0 into the match.
Yes, Eric, you. One hold.
Roth comes to the near side and overshoots the distribution. Quick throw in, 5-1-0. I'm going to say that will belong to FC Tucson after all. Now, I was going to say, I initially thought that although the header was close, I don't think they got it. Direct touch off of it. So we will have some subs check. Jonah Kawamura check into the match for Tucson. Man out of UC San Diego and Honolulu, Hawaii. Making his first appearance in this one.
And Kawamura is going to add some very well-needed energy into this midfield. He's going to come in for Lars Walczak, who, after calling his name for a few times early on, he hasn't been as much of a presence in the middle third of this match, and now a chance for the substitute to fill that hole and kind of try to guide Tucson back into things here.
Cam Wilkerson lays it off. 60th minute here in the second half. Again, one of these two teams will find themselves in the National Semifinal. The other will take a long trip back out west and have their season come to a close. Kawamura. Still nice 1-2 touch passing, but they run out of real estate, so to speak. This will belong to 5-1-0. Cam Wilkerson gives it to the substitute, Vera. For the few times this half, Rodriguez will have to make a play with the ball. Ball over the top. Juan Sanchez nearest there for 5-1-0. And it will belong to FC Tucson. Tucson trying to find a moment to break out. Smashed out of play. Will stick, though, with Tucson.
That ball ended up all the way over to the locker rooms, which is on a completely different building and property of the stadium.
We will have a booking on 5-1-0. We'll go to Emilio Martinez. Little gamesmanship there. Take the yellow at the cost of saving a potential quick move forward.
Well, and especially with Tucson, as of the last 10 minutes or so, struggling to generate opportunities, you don't want to give them that momentum boost. You'd rather take your chances with the long free kick, which so far in this match, we haven't seen a really quality chance come off of a corner or free kick for the most part today. So I think if you're 5-1-0, you're happy to let them take this from the right side.
Canchilla curls it back post. Headed down. Free for Tucson. Still loose. We're level in Peoria. It's never Tucson too late as we are tied 1-1. Big moment here in half number 2, Griffin, as FC Tucson will not be going away quietly after all.
Well, and I guess my words there kind of coming back to haunt Project 510 there. The free kicks curled in. It wasn't necessarily the cleanest of headers initially, but it was good service into a dangerous area. The ball's headed down, and then just a scrum in the front part of the 6 where it's just a matter of time before somebody gets the boot on it. And Tucson, the guys in gray with the tap in to even the score at 1. From that distance, there's nothing Rodriguez could do, and he sees this game get equalized completely, I might add, against the run of play.
1-1. So might we have another game go the distance? Project 510 has definitely had some venomous chances in the second half, not to the frequency to that of Tucson. They've come out hungry here in the second half, and it took them all of, roughly call it 18 minutes to try and find that equalizer. That will officially go down as a 62nd or 61st, depending on the official score. I have it down as a 61st minute goal. Ball chipped in over the top, and Edwin Rodriguez is there.
FC Tucson goal scored in the 63rd
Long
minute
ball.
by number 9, Paul Caleri, assisted by number 5, Thomas Gray.
So the official scoring for that goal will be a 61st minute goal by Kalari, assisted by Thomas Gray. That's how they have officially scored it here in Peoria. Pass under serve, 5-1-0 with a chance to get forward. Juan Sanchez. And we will stop play for an injury.
Yeah, it's just bodies coming together on that challenge. Project 510 slid in, and I can't quite tell who that is down on the play. Is it Belmudis who's just kind of shaken up after getting caught with the boot after the tough challenge?
And he has been everywhere in this match, so hopefully he's good enough to get moving. It looks like he is. Just needing a little help up from the Bradley Athletics training staff, and I stand corrected. He's got a considerable hobble, so hopefully he is okay when this is all said and done. No substitute ready to check in yet for Tucson. And this time will be added back on to the match for those either new to the sport or new to the postseason rules. And nothing really changes outside of the substitution rules from the college game to here in the USL 2. He will make his way off under his own power for just a bit to get checked out, but we go 67th minute here in Peoria. It's 1-1 in the Western Conference Final. Edwin Rodriguez, just moments after him and his defense give up the equalizer, will try and build from the back, which they've been better of here in half number 2. Cam Wilkerson. Rivera switches it to the far side. All right, back to Wilkerson.
Eric, across the line.
Wessa gets it right back. Trying to go in behind. It's an okay first touch from Rock. Rock will carry, lay it off. Wilkerson loads up, fakes inside, and maybe one too many touches. That shot stopped by Roth.
And it was quite the interesting attack there. Rock pushes it essentially to Wilkerson, who I thought was going to tee it up on his right foot. He had the space to curl it in. But for Wilkerson, he instead tried to dribble around the defender, ended up kind of losing the ball right to his teammate, who fired in the shot on the top of the 18, and it was saved away as it was shot at the middle of the net.
And there will be a yellow handed out on that tackle. As Arneson was tripped up, looked like almost falling in slow motion, right? He was just trying to find his balance, couldn't quite get it after about the 6th or 7th step, so just admit defeat and go down. But there will be a booking on the play.
And that's Alexei, who's on the far side, who's not only going to get the yellow card, but he's also shaken up. It looks like he's maybe cramped up that left hamstring or maybe the calf, but either way, his teammate going to stretch it out, and he does appear to be okay. I'm sure he'll continue, but now he receives the booking here in minute number 69.
Comes the 3rd yellow card for Project 510. Amelia Martinez and Thomas Camier with the other 2. FC Tucson has just the 2 from Walczek, who's been subbed off, and Canchila, who's the team captain and still on the field. Trying to find a chip forward. Here's Tucson offsides. As that was a near brace. The man wearing 9, and Paul Kalari nearly found it 2-1.
Well, and there were appeals to the linesman for it to I mean, obviously it's not going to get overturned, but it was interesting because it appeared initially that the left back was keeping on the attackers. The attacker on the end of that had certainly been offside as far as behind the center back who was man marking him, but I believe there was at least an appeal for him to still be on due to the man on the near side.
Edwin Rodriguez has to retreat fairly quickly. Instead, lines went up the far side. Taken in by Roberto Gonzalez. Plays it up to Eric Duncan. Haven't had a chance to call his name much in the second half. Flicked it forward to Juan Sanchez. As we near the end of the 70th minute here at Shea Stadium.
Yeah, and some signs of life from Eric Duncan in the front 3 of this Project 510 offensive attack, but it's just a tough ball into Sanchez. He's trying to bring it down on his chest, but there's defenders converging. Just not enough time to get it at his feet.
Your impact player today for FC Tucson, James Jennings, now moving up as a second striker for FC Tucson and trying to apply a little, not necessarily token pressure, but a little bluff pressure here and there.
Well, and I certainly don't mind it because we've seen Project 510 struggling a little bit in the last few minutes to build from the back. We saw a bad ball back to the keeper, Rodriguez. He had to chase it down and play a rash ball out of the box. But if they can put on a little bit of pressure, try to make the side uncomfortable, there's no reason why they couldn't grab a go-ahead just about 10 minutes after the equalizer.
If you're just tuning in, I want to welcome you to the broadcast. I'm Cody Roskins, alongside me, Griffin Leonard, bringing you the Western Conference Final for the USL 2. It was a 41st-minute goal by El Masinoy that put Project 510 out in front before a 61st-minute goal by Kalari set this match level as these two try to find a path to the National Semifinals. FC Tucson, they're trying to carry a lot of momentum forward, just like Project 510 is. They're riding a 7-match unbeaten streak. Started the year 2-2-2. Managed to find themselves in second place, the Southwest Division. Big run forward here from Jennings. Plays it out wide. Chipped back inside. And trying to hunt out Jennings, but Rodriguez was quick enough to it.
Yeah, James Jennings has made a pretty good run into the 18, just right down the middle, but good sight from Rodriguez, the goalkeeper. Edwin making the play, making the read, and coming out to claim it before Jennings could tap the header home.
Little bait and switch, trying to get this attack moving forward, and the easy offside call.
And they actually brought the left back all the way forward and for a steer on that play. They were trying to wrap him around that overlapping run that you mentioned, and he got in on net just a stride ahead of the defender, and it caused the linesman's flag to go up.
Ball back out wide to Camier. '73rd minute. Again, we'll remind fans, should this match end level at 1-1 at the conclusion of 90 minutes, we will go to an extra 30-minute period, separated into two 15-minute segments. Should we remain tied after that, we will go to penalty kicks, and it is a no golden goal rule in the USL 2's postseason. So even if we have a score, we will play the remainder of the allotted 30 minutes of extra time. Roberto Gonzalez. He chips it ahead. Can they find one into the mixer? Thomas Gray plays it back. Wilkerson, it's blocked. Wilkerson finds himself with it once more, and a play on.
It's a really good link up just a moment ago from Alexeyev to Wilkerson, trying to get that ball centrally, and Wilkerson putting on a good shot, but just blocked initially and then couldn't come up with the follow-up effort, but good signs of life from the Oakland side.
Belmudez just continues to run forward. Big run by him. Not much airspace. Cross sent in. Headed back. This will coast out for a Tucson corner.
Well, Jennings, as we mentioned, he's moved up to that striker role. Looks like we'll see a couple more substitutions from this Tucson side. But Jennings had moved up to the attacking role and just finding some space. He found himself partially unmarked on the back post, tried to head the ball back across the face. It was blocked out for a corner, and Tucson unwilling to go away.
Two subs getting ready to check in for FC Tucson. Ismael Ruiz alongside him, number 17, Joao Santos.
FC Tucson substitution, 17 is Joao Neves, and 20 is now Ruiz.
So as the subs continue to trickle their way in, you can kind of tell the lingering heat and the subtle wind is starting to take a toll as some of these players begin to cramp. Being from the Southwest, though, I imagine they're a little more used to the heat than perhaps we are.
Yeah, it's definitely hot out in Arizona this time of year. I would not want to take a vacation in Phoenix, and while I haven't been down to Tucson, I've heard it's just about the same, only maybe a little bit more humid. Canchilla
Curls it towards the back post, headed forward, still free, still loose. Tucson, can they square one up? It's still loose. Rodriguez pinballed around. The keeper finally covers it for a moment, but now extracurriculars after.
And tempers flaring in the 77th minute here at Shea Stadium. It looked very eerily similar to when Tucson found their equalizer, just a loose ball after the initial service in, and it's just who is going to come up with it. And you could see Edwin Rodriguez just sprawled out, making himself as big as possible in case the shot came his way, but eventually the bailout foul. And I mean, our head referee cannot see anything in that scrum. There's bodies flying everywhere, and eventually perhaps he's just decided he's had enough and whistles for the foul, as Tucson unable to put it in initially.
When it's all said and done, it will be a goal kick for Rodriguez. And again, you can't fault the officiating crew today because nobody, like you said, can see into that. But Tucson felt that they were fouled with, and of course Project 510 felt like the keeper was interfered with. And at the end of the day, it's a moot point, as Duncan's day has come to an end.
44, Jacob Heisner.
And he'll be frustrated looking back on this match. I mean, obviously, he'll be less frustrated if they do come out victorious, but he's had himself alone 2 or 3 chances to give 510 a real cushion in this match, and just didn't really have the finishing ability this afternoon.
Jacob Heisner checks into the match for Project 510 to relieve Eric Duncan. Shimmy and the shake laid off to Wilkerson. Long ball over the top to Juan Sanchez. He was subbed on late in the first half. And we'll go to Project 510 as we go 79th minute. And now Thomas Gray needs to see some attention for perhaps some cramping. It's been a good match, so this one, Griffin, as the fans and the tailgating scene start to fill in for our second match of the doubleheader. Flint City Bucks and Peoria City. A kind of contrasting tales, at least of franchise. You have Flint City with all the national titles, a lot of pedigree, getting ready to take on a 2-seed hosting this event in Peoria City, who's killed nothing but 1 seeds in their path so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, Flint City will certainly come in the favorite, given the history, given the dominance they've had over the course of the season. But, of course, that all goes out the window as soon as the first whistle is blown and the match gets underway. And based on the beginnings of that tailgate, I think we're going to have a pretty good crowd out here. I got the chance walking around with you and our producer, Jonathan Michael, before last week's contest, and it was a pretty fun environment out there. They for a USL 2 franchise, it certainly is an incredible experience to come out here as a fan, come out here as a broadcaster, and experience some soccer.
Braden Sanchez checks in late right before the throw-in for FC Tucson, and anticipating well over 1,000 fans here for the nightcap game. Many of the local sports teams in Peoria picking up the game as well, distributing, telling, whether you're from Flint or Peoria, want to see you out at the game. Smashed forward, and this will take another high bounce, allowing Tucson to try and run under it, but Rodriguez will be there off of the deflection as we go 81st minute. Tough touch off the header. Still free, played through the back, chance. Jude Stone whips it back inside and took a deflection, I believe, off of Thomas Gray.
And Jude Stone made a lovely run on the left wing. I didn't think that the man in the middle was going to be able to pick out Stone running down the flank, but they made it work. Just the pass was a little too out far in front, and Stone couldn't turn in on net. He had to push the ball out to the wing and look for a cross.
Looking that way again. Trying to whip in the cross. Instead, Wilkerson gets it back. Wilkerson lined back in front of goal, headed away, and it will belong to Project 510.
Yeah, Stone putting this team on his back in the last minute or so here, trying to hunt down every ball he can, get himself involved in the attack. That over-the-top ball should not have connected with Jude Stone. The defender had him boxed off, but the left winger was relentless, hooked around his defender, and got possession of the ball before whipping in the service.
Strike put on from a fair distance out by the sub Vera. And we will stop play for an injury, and you can hear the not agreeing tone from head coach Zach Gordon, his second year with Project 510, saying, wow, you're going to blow it then when we have the momentum in a little bit of a dangerous spot.
Well, and I think you have to blow it there, though, Cody, just because the player's down in the 18. The attack technically hadn't started yet. So if you, as the referee, if you don't blow the whistle in that situation, you're just putting the player in further harm's way. And despite the momentum killer that it is for Project 510, I think they have to understand that you can't, especially with the attack coming on the left wing, that ball is going to flare just right past him, and you can't risk further injury.
You ever see like the Scott Snelling or
Scott Sterling?
Yeah, Scott Sterling. That shows how dated I am, but
no, that's all right.
It's one of those instances, right, where you just take a hit off the woodwork and smack him, or like you said, better safe than sorry, and I'm sure FC Tucson will all be too happy to take the quick break.
Yeah, I will say that is one of my favorite YouTube videos of all
Which one's
time.
your favorite, the volleyball or the soccer one?
I mean, the soccer has to be the number one because of the originality of it.
Okay.
But I think the volleyball one was better produced. There was more.
They knew the idea going into that.
Yeah. So I enjoyed them both. Studio C, I believe, was the group that put it out, yeah, some really solid YouTube comedy back. What would that have been, like 2015?
I was in middle school.
I was in middle school too.
I'm
yeah.
24 years old now, so almost 13, 12 years ago now.
Time flies.
Something like that. Ball whipped in. Kawamura trying to win this one. Still the battle's on. Wilkerson will have it for 5-1-0. Jacob Heisner with the throw in. We don't have at least labeled long throw specialist, but he appears to be taking one. Another long shot sailed high, and that's the second time that Javier Beldoa Vera tried one from a fair bit out.
Yeah, Vera's taken two of those now, and the approach is just all wrong. He's taking it like a punter, where if you've ever seen American football, punts do not go straight. They go way up in the air because the kicker is moving the ball off of his foot up. As the volley opportunity comes, you have to strike that across, bring your leg down through it rather than up into it, because otherwise you have next to zero chance of keeping it down on frame unless you just take off a bunch of power.
We are getting to the nitty-gritty. Last 5 minutes in change, at least before we get the extra time tacked on, or at least stoppage time, excuse me. Quick touch, going down, and a foul. As Jude Stone, can't fault him too much, just trying to play the bounce, and caught a little too much that time of number 17, Joao Neves Santos.
And I won't comment too much on this free kick given the last time they were in a similar spot.
Been a lot of action off these free kicks, whether it's a direct result or just kind of a counter action. Canchilla kind of steers it straight. Still loose. Kawamura lays it short, now back out wide. Can Tucson get on the end of it? The offside flag is up. And a frustrating approach there as Tucson thought they had a quality opportunity.
Hey, control. Last 5, let's stop it. At least 10 minutes. 10 them in 3 and 4. Edward, 10 them in 3 and 4. Keep it.
87th minute we go. Thomas Gray does a great job walling off, winning it back. Kawamura trying to punt the ball forward. Kawamura wins the header. Still in.
And it seems like, Cody, the pace of play really slowing down here as we near minute number 88. You know, it's both teams not necessarily content to end this square because given they have to play it, the winner would have to play again in 2 days' time. They don't want to play any more minutes than they have to. But it's just very methodical, not a whole lot of speed on these attacks anymore.
Canchilla found himself the recipient off the deflection. It will belong to FC Tucson. So, then we'll have the long throw in. It looks like they're setting it up for it now. DeAndre Pickett will take it. The former All-American at the junior college level. Gets it towards that front post. Falls flat. Now Kawamura. 88th minute. Back to Canchilla. Pickett, haven't said his name a lot today. Thomas Gray lined inside near the 6. Caleri inside, stop, and a delayed goal! FC Tucson pushes it across the line! Could it be a late winner for the boys out of the Southwest? Griffin, that sequence might see him through.
And what an effort it was. It was just such a dangerous ball into the 6, and maybe no one specifically on the end of that, but it's just off the palm of the goalkeeper, and Rodriguez diving to his right, diving the side of the remainder of the pitch, just pushes it wide. But it just sits down on top of the 6, and it's just a simple tap in. And I believe that is the substitute, Joao Neves Santos, who has given Tucson the advantage in the 89th minute.
FC Tucson goal scored in the 88th minute by number 17, Joao Neves.
So Joao Neves Santos will get credit for the goal. So late dramatics in this one. We had a ton of dramatics the other night on Sunday between Peoria City and Des Moines. Do these two have more here at Shea Stadium? And both of the goals, at least from my perspective, again, haven't come from the manufacturing run of play. Like you said, it's not really been one play or one result for another. It's just been the scrappiness when the play hasn't been executed either well or correctly, and it's gotten them 2 goals.
Yeah, well, and that goes for both sides. We haven't seen a so-called well-worked goal yet in this match. 5-1-0, excuse me. It's scoring on the penalty in the first half, and then 2 goals here in the second. But yeah, both of which just off of just squirted balls out just loose where anyone can tap them in. But Tucson have put numbers forward. It's something we've talked about as a foul is going to come in another dangerous free kick as we enter stoppage time. It's been the way that Tucson have played that have enabled them to take advantage of those situations. It's not like they've just gotten lucky here because they've been pushing numbers forward all match. It's just finally worked out where they've gotten those numbers and the ball finds them in a good spot. So it's not necessarily the most beautiful soccer I've ever seen played. It's certainly not undeserved for this Tucson side to be leading.
It's playoff soccer. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's 2-1 in favor of the visitor on the scoreboard, FC Tucson. We've been told there'll be 6 minutes of stoppage time added back on. We're only at 40 seconds, and so there's still, I wouldn't say plenty of time, but Project 510 with the speed of their attacks today will have more than enough opportunities. We'll have to get them right. Again, they dominated the first half. They were on their heels to start the second, and they just have really never found an appropriate move forward to give them much of a chance to find a second goal. Ball to the near side. Roberto Gonzalez feeds it in behind. Trying to find Derek Rock. And it was a fairly threatening ball, but Got there just a little too quickly. 90 seconds gone of our 6 minutes of stoppage time. Wilkerson lays it off. Header won by 5-1-0. Do they have something in them here? Going quick. 5-1-0 knows they don't have a ton of time left. 2 minutes gone of the 6. Wilkerson curling it towards the back post. Worldy attempts, and it's now out for the goal kick.
Well, you certainly can't say they're not trying out there, Cody. I mean, that's realistically never going to go in, but it's quite the effort from the substitute. I believe that's Jacob Lepore, who's just flying nearly upside down to just try to bicycle that on goal. And the cross, the curler from the right foot, just a tad over his outstretched boot.
Chance here for FC Tucson. Trying to find perhaps a third to put the nail in the coffin.
I think they'll be content to just take this to the corner. We saw their mentality on the free kick. There just were no bodies forward, even with a good opportunity. And appeals for a corner, but they will say goal kick.
Gotta go quickly. 3 minutes gone here in stoppage time. At least according to our stopwatch, that is. Time is officially being kept on the field, not next to us. So there could be about a 10 to 15 second differential depending on how they started it before the PA announcer got it to us. Kawamura still blocked away. 3:45 gone. Desperation time. Played it perhaps the one center back that didn't have anybody there in a black shirt. FC Tucson, so close now they can taste it. 2 minutes left of stoppage time. Now we'll switch sides to 5-1-0.
And 5-1-0 are essentially playing 11 on 10 right now. I'm not sure why they haven't tried to get a stoppage to check on this player who's very considerably limping in the defensive third.
Still free, 5-1-0 still there. Header forward. Wilkerson's there. Might be last-ditch effort. 1:15 left in stoppage time. Chipped back inside, and loose Roth comes up with it but was fouled. And you can see FC Tucson is just grasping for straws at this point. They are not necessarily dropping like flies to try and more gamesmanship for it, I guess, but there's some real physicality going on out there.
Yeah, I mean, Nils Roth just throws himself at this ball, not taking any chances for a header, taking it upon himself to go get it. He was well outside of his 6 and completely collided with the Project 5-1-0 attacker. But both him and his defender on the far side appear to be okay. I believe that is Ellis Jones, the center back, who also went down, the Englishman, but they both appear to be okay to continue.
I have 5 minutes, 40 seconds gone. And again, it could be a 10 to 15 second exception either way.
And you would imagine probably 20 seconds, 30 seconds
extra
added on just due to that right there.
Let's it go out. So we've officially hit the 6 minute mark of stoppage time. We told there'd be 6, so it's got to be no more than a half minute left. We saw this the other night with Peoria City and Des Moines, a late goal that saw it all the way to penalties. Back to Rodriguez. This could be it. Last approach for 5-1-0. Punted forward. They tried to bring Rodriguez, the goaltender, up. Will that be the final whistle?
And they're actually going to keep the goaltender up. He's joining the attack.
This could be it as well. Long ball played in, flicked forward, still there. Hesa goes wide.
And a lot of hands on knees and frustration after that one. Huesa took the volley, but that's just not the shot you want at the death with so many bodies forward. He's got to play that down and look to push it out wide.
7 minutes of stoppage time. Fans from the 510 and FC Tucson both calling for the whistle to blow, and there it is! As they fall to the grass in exhaustion, FC Tucson is moving on to the National Semifinal.
And what a match it was. 5-1-0 take the early advantage in the first half. But Tucson unrelenting. They strike twice in the latter 45 minutes. And the late winner from the substitute, Joao Neves, has thrust FC Tucson of Arizona into the National Semifinals to be played right here on Sunday.
We want to congratulate, obviously, Project 510, a terrific season, a 2 seed that, again, we touched on it. They were one of only 3 left. They were playing one of the other 3 in this match, and so they will make the long trip back to Oakland, but nothing to hang their heads on. A fantastic season. Again, they gave the NorCal all they could really handle at times, tied with Almaden FC, and bow out to a very respectable FC Tucson side. Well, we'll step aside. Don't forget, we've still got the second game of our doubleheader coming up tonight at 7:30. It's the big one, Flint City Bucks and Peoria City at 7:30 right here on Sports Engine Play and YouTube here on Clutch Sports Media. Again, we'll step aside for Cody Roskins, Griffin Leonard, and everybody at our Clutch Sports Media production. We'll see you back at 7:30.